What if Olenna Tyrell learned the truth about Jon Snow? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. As the coronation takes place, Robert marches down the hall, hammer on his shoulder, and his face looking like it was chiseled out of stone. On either side of him, men raise their swords in salute of their new king. He does not say anything, simply accepting their fealty with a slight smile that does not reach his eyes. To Olenna Tyrell, it makes for a rather strange sight. She has heard stories of their new king, a warrior without peer, quick to laugh and even faster to rage. And yet here, he shows neither of those emotions. Instead, his shoulders appear heavy, as if the weight of the world is upon him. Robert makes his way over to the Iron Throne, where his crown hangs atop one of the countless blades that makes up this seat. Easing himself down, Robert picks up the crown and rests it on his head. At once, the whole court erupts in cheers, raising their fists and shouting his name. Olenna does not join them, simply watching the events unfold. She keeps a close watch on the new king and his courtiers, those who will be the architects of a new age. Jon Arryn stands beside him, now wearing the badge of the hand. Meanwhile, Hoster Tully and Tywin Lannister stand not too far away. But the one who truly gets her attention is a quiet-looking lord in the corner, rubbing his beard and avoiding the attention. Ned Stark, one of Robert's oldest companions and the new ruler of Winterfell. He does not join in the festivities as food is brought out, and Robert urges the men to make merry. While he sips wine and nibbles on food, his eyes remain on Robert until the king is free and moves over to speak with him. The monarch initially seems guarded, but as they speak, their expressions begin to relax often, and the two men share an embrace. Though she cannot see it from a distance, Olenna swears she sees tears in the king's eyes. Eventually, Ned lifts up a bundle that she doesn't initially notice and realizes it contains a child. Her eyes widen, and she recalls something her spies had told her. Now the Lord of Winterfell had brought a bastard to this feast. It was the talk of gossip that the Honorable Ned Stark had fathered a bastard during the war, something even Olenna can scarcely believe. Speculation was running wild as to who the mother might be, with Asha Dane being the most popular candidate. Yet, to bring the bastard into court is a bold move. Many would take it as a grave insult and a breach of propriety. However, it seemed like Robert does not care. Instead, he leans closer and wiggles his finger at the boy. Olenna supposed it made sense. Robert was supposed to wed Ned's sister, Lyanna. Her loss, along with most of the Stark family, was a pain felt deeply by both men. The sight of a new Stark, even one of bastard stock, must have felt like a good sign for both of them. She would have been happy to leave it at that, but something pricks at the back of her mind as she watches Ned. Her instincts tell her there is far more to this than it seems. If nothing else, knowing about his son's mother might at least give her some blackmail in the future, especially given how close the king is to him. Olenna bows her head and smiles, waving until the ceremony comes to an end. But as the guests go home, she instead begins researching. Though not as vast as Varys's, Olenna still has a strong network of informants, and these people help her search for the truth of this matter. Her agents travel across the places where Ned and his army marched, asking soldiers and small folk who saw Ned about his children. Given how young Jon is, he can't have been born in the north, as Ned spent most of the year in the Riverlands fighting, so he could not have sired the child there. Olenna begins to ask people along the Riverlands if the Lord of Winterfell had any women with him during the march, or whether or not there were signs of children. Yet all these questions are met with the same response. Lord Stark was not the sort of man who kept company like that. He was focused on his duty. In fact, the first time anyone publicly saw Jon was at this coronation. Everyone assumes it could have been Asha Dane, but Ned only saw her at the very end of the war, just a few months ago. That cannot be the case either. And when she has her agents ask her surviving sister, Illyria Dane, the girl insists that Asha showed no sign of pregnancy, and that while she had cared for Ned, they never had a chance to explore those feelings. This effectively leaves her search in a dead end, at least until Sir Gerald Dane approaches the Tyrell agent with a smile. He informs him that he might have valuable information that might prove useful. A few days later, he finds himself in the borderlands between the Reach and Dorne, waiting as a litter arrives, bearing Olenna Tyrell. Beside her are a pair of hulking bodyguards who stand ready, fingering their swords.
A powerful escort to meet with a single knight, my lady.
They are for my sake, sir. I hate wasting time, and if this meeting proves unfruitful, they are here to punish those who waste my time.
A wise precaution, but one unnecessary here. I understand you are searching for the truth behind Lord Stark's bastard. A rather strange piece of gossip to hang on to. Might I ask why?
Why not? Lord Stark was famed for his honor and honesty. Then the woman responsible must be someone unlike any other. I would like to enjoy having such a woman in my court. She can prove useful.
Indeed, it would. But unfortunately, that is where you must hold your breath. Your theory depends on the idea that there was a woman capable of seducing Lord Stark. That this boy truly is a bastard born from Honorable Eddard's loins.
Would you have believed me that there is something else in this tale? A twist no one knows about?
Indeed. I know your investigation has undergone some trouble as you struggle to find the information you were looking for, and with good reason. Ned Stark is not a man who would take a woman by force, and yet you found no woman who came forward acknowledging herself as the mother. You must consider the fact that he is simply not the father.
Then who is?
Rhaegar. You see, my lady, while the rest of the realm kept its attention to Robert and his rebellion, Rhaegar had remained hidden from the public eye, at least until his dramatic appearance during the Battle of the Trident. And let us not forget that he had remained hidden for close to a year, enough to sire a child.
Enough to do quite a lot. What proof do you have that this child was theirs?
The Danes of Starfall have always looked down on my house. However, they were happy to request our aid when they needed something. And while Rhaegar was hiding in the Tower of Joy, he had requested a woman who had just lost her child, someone who was still producing milk.
A wet nurse.
Indeed. The boy just happens to arrive right after Ned Stark arrives with a mysterious child, proclaiming him as his boy. Not only that, but Lord Dane kept Willa in his service, allowing her to wet nurse his son as well. It seems rather suspicious, don't you think?
Olenna does not need to hear more. She understands what that means, and now has some valuable knowledge. Though the Targaryens might never come back to power, this information will remain valuable nonetheless. Rather than keep it a secret, she decides to confront Ned about it, and sends a letter to him, informing him of her investigation, and including a single name, the name of the wet nurse who cared for Jon, Willa. The name immediately sends chills down Ned's spine as he reads it. He is glad that no one else is there to see his reaction, but he understands the meaning of this message and arranges for a meeting. He soon travels south under the guise of securing a grain deal from the Reach in preparation for winter, and while he half-heartedly haggles prices with Mace Tyrell, he manages to slip off and arrives in the gardens, where Lady Olenna is waiting with a quaint smile and her arms folded over her lap.
I must admit I understand you, Lord Stark. I never thought you capable of deception, much less something like this. To hide a prince right under your king's nose, it is impressive, even for me.
You make it seem worse than it truly is, Lady Olenna. I have no intention of questioning King Robert's reign or challenging his rule, but this child cannot grow up normally if the realm believes him to be a Targaryen. Robert will want him dead, and even if he doesn't, every ambitious lord will want to get their claws in him.
Oh, you Starks with all your noble causes. It makes such a drab tale. Still, I am not a cold-hearted woman, my lord. I have no intention of challenging Robert's rule. You are correct that revealing him will only bring chaos.
Thank you, Lady Olenna. I appreciate your understanding, and I hope that this means we can act as if this matter never happened.
On the contrary, Lord Stark, I cannot do that. You see, I may not be a cold-hearted woman, but I know opportunity when I see it, and this is something that I cannot ignore. I ask that you consider fostering Jon in Highgarden, where I can watch his career with great interest.
If I had my way, he would not have some great career, but live out his life peacefully.
I suppose there is some charm to that, but isn't that unfair for the boy? What you suggest for him is to spend his life simply being your bastard boy surrounded by the shadows of his true-born siblings, with your wife staring down at him disdainfully. Tell me, what does she know of this?
Catelyn is...
I see. Well then, tell me, does Jon not deserve a chance to soar, to rise up beyond simply being the bastard of Winterfell? I will admit there is danger and risk, but there is always that. If you will allow him to be fostered there, I will personally ensure his protection.
Ned looks at a loss. This was nothing like what he had hoped for, yet in some ways it is better. A small part of him wishes for Jon to rise to the same heights as his father, but he also understands the dangers that will come with it. This opportunity is something that few of his children will ever have.
Very well. I accept your offer. I will send Jon to Highgarden. If, and only if, I feel like he may no longer be welcome in Winterfell.
Lady Olenna smiles and accepts this offer, knowing that will be sooner rather than later. Her confidence is well-founded, as Jon grows up in a cold but close household. Ned personally takes charge of Jon, giving him the same education and love he lavishes on all his trueborn children. It is far more than any bastard can expect, but even then, the divide remains clear. He is a bastard, and Catelyn Stark makes that clear. For her part, she never offers Jon the same affection she provides her other children. All his life, he grows up in the shadows of his siblings. While they treat him well, the divide remains clear, as one fact remains. He will never inherit Winterfell or reach the same heights as them. Even in a marriage pact, there will always be the snag of his being baseborn, and from a common woman no less. While Ned tries to offer him a sense of belonging by acting as a father figure, it is simply not enough. He is just one man who treats him like that, while others regard him warily. Though Ned tries to deny this fact, the idea of sending him south to Highgarden begins to look more appealing, especially regarding Catelyn, who seems to want to get rid of him. Even Jon is keen on looking for a way out, somewhere he could prove himself and rise beyond simply being a bastard of Winterfell. So in the end, he writes to Olenna, saying he is open to the possibility of sending him to the Reach. However, he reaffirms his desire for Jon's parentage to be kept secret, along with any precautions made to protect him. Olenna agrees and creates a story of wanting to forge stronger ties with the North. Although cold and desolate, they are always in need of Reach grain and other materials. She says that it would be in their best interest to improve relations to ensure they have continued dominance in the market, lest they lose out to the Riverlands and Vale, which are already close allies to the North. Mace agrees, especially when she speaks of Sansa and her reputation as a courtly young woman, a potential match for Loras if they like each other. At the same time, she insists that Jon also be accepted, serving as a guardian for Sansa and an escort. Although less keen on that, Mace has no real qualms about it, especially when Olenna gives her support on the matter. Soon enough, the ship departs Torrhen's Square with Sansa, Jon, and a handful of retainers in tow. They make landfall in Old Town, where they are welcomed with open arms. As they travel through the Reach, the verdant grasslands, golden fields, and rolling hills that offer more food than the North has ever seen make for an incredible sight. Sansa drinks it all up, enthralled by the beauty of the region, the gowns and silks of the nobles, and the gallantry of the knights. Jon is less impressed, or at least shows it less, as he keeps a wary watch on everything, his hand on his sword as he believes himself little more than a bodyguard here. Yet when they arrive in Highgarden, Olenna insists on educating the two of them herself. While Mace busies himself running the day-to-day of the Reach, she spends her time teaching them about the lands of the South, its houses, and its politics. For the two of them, it is rather confusing at first. Sansa imagines the realm as homogeneous, with all the lesser houses obediently following their lord, just like the North. But Jon knows better. Each of them has its own interests and goals that sometimes puts them into conflict with their Lord Paramount. The afternoon sun spills through the latticed windows of Highgarden Solar, casting golden patterns on the floor. Scrolls, ledgers, and small wooden tokens litter the table where Olenna Tyrell sits. Across from her, Sansa Stark listens with rapt attention. She seems eager, but vapid, and does not fully understand what Olenna teaches. Jon sits beside her, arms folded, though his eyes are on the practice field.
Again, House Redwood controls the arbor and its wines. They are vassals of House Tyrell, yes? But what does that mean?
It means they owe loyalty to House Tyrell, and must provide men and ships in times of war.
I would hope so, lest the Ironborn attack and all they can spare are casks of wine. They can field more ships than Highgarden. So, why is it that they only remain vassals?
Sansa hesitates. Jon exhales quietly, already looking away, earning a sharp glance from the Queen of Thorns.
You find this dull, boy?
I don't see why I need to learn about who owes what to whom. I'm no lord. I'm
a bastard. Do you wish to be one all your life? If all you want is to sulk as you guard some petty lord's gate and die forgotten, then by all means. But if you wish to rise, if you wish to be more than Ned Stark's nameless mistake, then you will learn.
I'm no mistake.
Indeed, your father seemed to agree. Otherwise, why would he invest so much in sending you here? Or do you think that you were only sent here because of your skill in handling a sword?
What do you mean?
7 hells. This is what I'm trying to teach you, my boy. To understand the meaning behind someone's actions. Your father wishes you to be educated, but does not wish to earn the ire of his lady wife. So instead, he sent you here, so you may learn away from her judging eyes.
And he asked me to learn this. I wish to become a knight.
A knight who only thinks his sword is a poor thing. 7 know we have enough of that.
And what is it you think I should learn?
To see, to listen, to know what people truly mean when they speak. I suspect you understand enough of that. But the South runs on secrets, and the North on honor. Both can kill a fool who doesn't understand the difference. Now I ask you again, answer the question.
Because war is not in their best interests. Their ships are trading vessels that sell foodstuffs and silver from the mainland. If they risk a war, those ships will be converted into war galleys and will not make money, and their wealth will wither on the vine.
Good.
She sniffs and nods her head, satisfied with the answer. Yet, soon she begins to train them in ways more suited to their talents. Jon is already observant to begin with, and now she begins to hone these skills, pointing him to places where he can gather information and use that ability to the fullest. She has him observe rival knights and their techniques when they train, so when he spars against them, he can gain the advantage. When some challenge or bully him, she shows Jon how to gather information on them. For Sansa, her love for gossip soon comes in handy, as Olenna encourages her to keep doing it. She explains that information is much like gossip, but a refined form. The Lady of Thorns has Sansa gather information, but also has her analyze where it's from, and where it can be trustworthy. Gossip might seem idle, but people spread it for a reason, and her job is to figure out what. Their lessons shift from maps and histories to subtler games. Olenna arranges mock councils where Sansa must mediate disputes between imaginary bannermen, while Jon is told to stand aside and observe. At first, he feels useless, reduced to silence while Sansa argues and reasons. But slowly, he begins to notice what Olenna intends. He sees how Sansa's smile falters, and when she's uncertain, how Olenna's tone changes when she's pleased, and how Marjorie's soft laughter smooths over tension. Sansa, for her part, thrives. Olenna feeds her curiosity like a gardener tending roses. Together they dissect court rumors, trace them back to their sources and motives. Olenna rewards her accuracy with sweetmeats and quiet praise. By the end of the season, the change is clear. Sansa's speech grows measured, her compliments layered with subtle intent. Jon, though quieter than ever, seems sharper, his silences filled with thought instead of discomfort. Over the years they have become modeled to be players in the Game of Thrones, just as the other Tyrells. Marjorie becomes a constant companion for both, enjoying talking with Sansa while watching Jon train against her brothers. Sir Garland and Loras are initially skeptical of training with a bastard from faraway Winterfell, but he soon proves to be a match for both, setting a name for himself as a rising talent. When they aren't watching the boys train, Marjorie and Sansa are talking with other Tyrell cousins and the children of their bannermen. While it might seem like idle gossip at first, there is more to it than anyone realizes. Their seemingly unassuming stories carry reports of what is happening in these other houses and their situation. Sansa is careful to study them and analyze the truth of these tales. But outside the Seven Kingdoms, there are great changes taking place as Jon Arryn dies, leaving the realm without a hand. That is, until Robert makes the bold move of assigning the position to his old friend Ned Stark. The Lord of Winterfell is honored by this title and accepts, if only to learn the truth about his late predecessor. Olenna watches this from the sidelines, smiling to herself as, at long last, her patience is paid off. With Ned Stark his hand, his standing in court rises, making his children more desirable. When there is an announcement made that they are having a tourney in the Hand's honor, the Tyrells are invited to attend. At last, Olenna sees an opportunity to present the two properly and reunite with their father. The tourney is one of the most extravagant events in the realm since the start of Robert's reign. While he is fond of these events, he spares no expense for his friend's arrival, and knights from all across the Seven Kingdoms travel to take part in the joust and melee. Among them is Jon Snow, who, although not yet a knight, is eager to prove himself. He rides under his personalized banner, a direwolf, but painted white instead of gray. As horns sound and jousts begin, the young warrior holds his own, unhorsing half a dozen men before at last being defeated by Sir Jaime Lannister. Yet even here, he does not go down without a fight, and manages to break several lances before being unhorsed. As the crowd cheers, Jon raises up a hand. For a moment, no one regards him as the bastard of Winterfell, but a knight of the Seven Kingdoms. When Ned sees this, he feels a rush of pride for his son, watching as he grows into a strong young man without changing who he is. He is among those who jump on his feet and cheer for him as Jon steps out of the lists. The Hand embraces his son and Sansa when the two of them appear before him, and welcomes them back like long-lost relatives.
I have missed you both dearly, my children. Things in Winterfell have not been the same without you.
Thank you, Father. We're happy to see you here as well.
Lady Olenna has been a gracious host to us, and we have learned quite a lot while in Highgarden.
I'm certain she was most insistent in having you two. I'm glad you're both happy. However, I hope you haven't forgotten where your home is. Winterfell will always have place for you two. Even you, Jon.
I miss home too. The South. It has everything I could have dreamed of. It was just like the stories, but also different. And different from home. I would like to return there soon.
I'm pleased to hear it. As for you, Jon, I know that things have not always been easy for you in Winterfell. You have had to suffer because of my mistake, and that is not fair, especially when I have not told you the truth. When we return, I will tell you about your mother.
Jon nods, his throat going dry as he hears about this. All his life, his mother had been only an enigma to him. The mysterious woman was able to make even Ned Stark forget his honor. But at long last, he may truly understand who she is. Though he thanks Ned for that, Jon's mind also goes around the court as he senses something off about this place. The atmosphere of King's Landing seems heavier than in Highgarden, more guarded, as if there are more secrets to uncover. He frowns and doesn't like the sign of it. Sansa senses it too and begins speaking to the ladies. To many, she is simply the daughter of Ned Stark and a companion of Margaery Tyrell. Her words seem light and her presence relaxing, yet everything she says is measured, as if working to get information from them. She asks about the people in the court and the small council, simple questions any outsider might ask. Who are the members? Where is Lord Stannis? And what is Robert like? What are the concerns of the court? From there, Jon begins to zero in on someone suspicious, Lord Baelish, who seems oddly close to Ned Stark. While he might seem like an ally, Sansa notes how his last encounter with a Stark nearly resulted in him losing his life, all because he wished to wed Lady Catelyn. She immediately grows suspicious of him, and Loras only confirms those suspicions as he explains that Littlefinger has always served whoever benefited him. Weeks later, the underlying tension begins to boil over, as there is a report that Tyrion Lannister was arrested by Catelyn, and this leads to conflict in the street that leaves Ned injured. The two of them realize there is far more to this than they realize, and urge their father to tell the truth. Eventually, he calls them to meet in the dead of night. Jon walks beside Sansa to talk to Ned about what is going on. When they enter the Solar, he stands waiting, half in shadow. He looks older when they last saw him, older and more tired.
You asked me what was going on here. I suppose I should trust you both, given how much you've grown. I received a letter before I was offered the position as Hand. Jon Arryn's death was no accident. I've been trying to find who was behind it.
Jon Arryn was well loved. Who would do that?
I can't say yet, but I'm close. Jon Arryn died because he discovered something the Queen wished kept secret. Something about her children. What kind of secret? A dangerous one. If what I've found is true, none of Cersei's children are Robert's. They're Lannisters. Jaime's.
Silence fills the room, broken only by the distant call of guards changing watch.
I'll confront the Queen and... No, you can't. If you do, you'll be playing the game on the ground. The Lannisters hold the court, gold cloaks in the King's Ear. We'd be trapped before the sun rises. Even if you hold the city, you'll be trapped here without support. Tywin Lannister holds the Riverlands and can march here to root you out. We should leave and gather allies. Lady Olenna will rally behind us, and the North will follow you. This will allow us to attack when we're more prepared.
The Lannisters expect you to act with honor. Do the unexpected. Withdraw, regroup, and strike from strength.
Ned looks at Jon, impressed at how much he's grown, and recognizes his plan. Before dawn, they slip from the Red Keep under heavy guard. Their horses rattle over cobblestones as they pass through the gates. Renly joins them, accompanied by Sir Loras and the Reachmen who remain. Behind them, King's Landing still sleeps, unaware that its most dangerous secret is fleeing its walls. Highgarden's halls smell of roses and wet earth when they arrive. Olenna Tyrell greets them in her private solar. There, she hears everything, and for a rare moment, she is taken off guard by everything she hears. Unfortunately, she has her own story. Robert is now dead, killed in a hunting accident, and Joffrey has been crowned.
So the lioness has cubs with her brother. You Starks do know how to stumble onto the juiciest scandals.
Indeed. This changes everything. That means the Lannisters have no claim to the throne, that Robert has no heirs, and the only two people who can claim it are me and Stannis.
Oh, my sweet summer child. You are mistaken. There is another.
Who? Jon. I told you I would tell you about your mother. Now is the time.
She lays a bundle of parchment on the table. Inside are letters, confessions, and sealed testimonies, accounts gathered over years. The septums who performed a secret wedding between Rhaegar and Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, midwives who tended to the birth at the Tower of Joy, letters confirming that Jon Snow's supposed bastard was a lie.
The true heir to the Iron Throne stands before you.
You mean to tell me this boy?
Jon says nothing. He looks between them, his expression lost, but Olenna's gaze softens, and Ned places a hand on his shoulder.
I know this is a lot to take in, but I could not tell you. Not while Robert lived, and they may yet still decide to kill you. So, you are not my father? I am, Jon. I may not have sired you, but I raised you as if you were my own. That must mean something. It does. Then what of my claim? My brother's line is ended, true, but the Stormlands will not bend knee to a ghost of the Targaryens.
Then the Stormlands will stand alone. The Reach will not fight for another Baratheon dreamer, especially not one as unproven as you.
The words hang like thunder in the room. Renly's jaw tightens, but he doesn't answer. Instead, he has no choice but to accept the situation, for now. The war begins with whispers and ravens across the realm, urging them to war. These ravens carry it along with the reports of Jon's parentage that Olenna has gathered. All of this presents a strong case that, while not ironclad, is enough to convince those who have no reason to join the Lannisters. From the Reach to the Riverlands, from the Stormlands to the north, ravens bring the same message. The Lannisters have usurped the throne, and the true heir has returned. Robb is already keen on fighting the Lannisters and has never known his father to lie about anything. If anything, this news actually answers a lot of questions as to why Ned never shared Jon's parentage. He eagerly declares for his new king while riding south to liberate the Riverlands. While most of its lords are on the run, many still hear this news as they hide from the Lannisters and begin to rally to declare for their new king. Robb's host moves like a shadow through the forests near the Whispering Wood. The Lannisters, drunk on their early victories and eager to end this war, do not predict his next move. First, Jaime is lured out by force of rivermen who pose as brigands, where he is ambushed and apprehended. While the Lannister camp still has no idea what is happening, the northern cavalry crushes into Jaime's camp, cutting through gold and crimson like wolves among sheep. Robb rides at the head, Greywind leaping beside him, his sword flashing pale blue in the morning mist. Jaime Lannister's men rally, but it's too late. By dusk, the Kingslayer kneels in the chains, and the north roars in victory. From Riverrun, the Tully banners join his march. The River Lords rise with their northern kin, pushing westward and cutting off Tywin Lannister's retreat. With their escape cut off and the realm rising against them, the remaining Lannister troops instead turn east from Harrenhal, intent on riding to King's Landing to reinforce it as best they can. Yet while Tywin plans to evacuate, the Reach and Stormlands are already moving. Mace Tyrell's armies sweep north in perfect formation. They advance from the south and soon recapture Harrenhal, losing the last major Lannister stronghold in the region and leaving no escape. Meanwhile, the Stormlanders attack from the south into the Crownlands, the few noble houses there that still pledge loyalty to the House Lannister. Renly personally leads the charge with Loras and Garland, eager to prove himself. They cut off Tywin from reaching King's Landing and guard the crossing along the Blackwater Rush, preventing them from entering the city. As Tywin prepares for a crossing, horns sound behind him, and he looks around and sees the Reachmen approaching from the west. He sees the golden banners of House Tyrell across his eyes, and yet, at the center, he sees the wolf banner of Jon Snow. Jon leads the first charge, striking hard against the Lannisters. Despite that, Tywin does not give up and organizes a defensive formation. The Reachmen hit their shield wall, and their initial strike breaks. Spears and pikes thrust out, forcing the horses back while their own cavalry rush forward, and both sides batter each other. Yet Jon does not give up and organizes several more strikes, hitting the Lannisters and opening gaps in their defenses for men-at-arms to rush through. But Sir Adam quickly plugs up these gaps and allows the Lannisters to just barely hold. Meanwhile, from the other end of the battlefield, the Baratheons rush forward across the bridge in the Blackwater Rush. They find Sir Gregor waiting for them as he organizes the defenses. Archers and knights fight in complete sync, preventing any men from getting across for long. Many Stormlanders fall to Sir Gregor, but they only number 2,000 men, and Renly orders all his archers to concentrate fire on Sir Gregor. The massive knight screams as arrows rain down on him, sapping his strength just as Loras leads an attack. His morning star flashes over his head before crushing the knight's skull. They fall upon Westermen like a tide of fire. The Lannister host, wary and fractured, buckles under the pressure. Tywin is surrounded and cut down while his men scatter into the wind. The Goldcloaks, cowed by fear, turn on the Lannister officers when the gates fall. The Reachmen pour through the Lion's Gate. Stormlanders through the King's Gate, while the Northmen breach the walls in the north. Jon Snow leads the vanguard with Robb's picked men. He fights in silence, his white direwolf banner gleaming against the smoke-filled sky. At the Red Keep, Sir Loris's knights smash through the last of the Lannister guards. Cersei flees to Maegor's holdfast, but there is no escape. When the doors burst open, Sansa stands there in Tyrell green, as she orders that she be locked up in the black cells. By dusk, the city is theirs. The lion banners burn in the streets, and the Iron Throne stands empty once more until Jon sits upon it. Far to the south, Sansa rides to Sunspear as her cousin's envoy bears gifts and promises. She stands before Prince Doran Martell and lays out her terms with the calm precision Olenna taught her.
The Lannisters who wronged your house will face justice, Tywin and the Mountain both, and if Dorne joins us now, it will not kneel to a conqueror, but stand beside a rightful king.
Doran listens in silence. His daughter, Arianna, watches her closely, seeing not a northern girl, but a woman who understands the game, especially when she offers them heads atop spikes. By nightfall, a raven flies from Dorne. The Martells have joined the cause. With that comes information. The Martells have not simply been isolating themselves, as many had believed all these years. Instead, they have been making moves to reach out to the remaining Targaryens, keeping tabs and intending to help them return. There was originally a plan to marry Viserys Targaryen when he arrived with Daenerys and her Dothraki, but now Viserys is dead and the Khalasar is no more. However, there still remains Daenerys, who no one is able to control, but is said to be sailing eastward. The Martells will try reaching out to her and learning more, but in the meantime, there remains one more holdout. When news reaches Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon reads the evidence himself, the records of Rhaegar and Lyanna's secret marriage, the sworn words of septums and wet nurses, the seal of Ned Stark confirming the truth. Yet he is not officially declared for anyone yet, not until Ned rides to meet him in person and stands together atop the black cliffs of Dragonstone.
You've always said you serve the realm, then serve it now. Help us rebuild what the Lannisters have broken. Be the king's hand and guide the king to a new future.
For a long time, Stannis says nothing. Then, slowly, he kneels.
The realm must have order. So be it.
Weeks later, the great lords of Westeros gather in the throne room. The Iron Throne gleams once more, but it is not Robert's booming voice that fills the hall. It's Jon's. He stands before them not as Jon Snow, but as Jon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, rightful heir of the dragon and the wolf. Beside him stands Sansa, the Rose of the North, and Olenna, the Queen of Thorns, reborn in triumph. Ned stands to his right, Stannis to his left, both solemn but steadfast. Renly is there, smiling, but it does not reach his eyes. Peace settles, at least for now. The Red Viper pulls them aside and whispers warnings of Daenerys Targaryen. She has indeed sailed east to Slaver's Bay, not to recruit slaves, but to free them. She is forging her own kingdom in the south.
She is your kin, and she will not rest while she believes herself alone.
Besides, so long as she does not officially bow before you, her claim remains a threat to you.
Then I suppose it is time I meet with my aunt.
A delegation is soon sent out under the command of Sansa Stark, Oberyn Martell, and Renly Baratheon to meet with Daenerys Targaryen in Slaver's Bay. They know little of the young queen and are surprised to see how much things have changed under her. Slaver's Bay has long been a place of ill repute among the Westerosi who harbor the practice, and yet, when they arrive, they find that Slaver's Bay is all but abolished. This is all thanks to Daenerys Targaryen, whose harsh laws on the practice, as well as her Unsullied and dragons, ensure they are followed. They find freedmen walking without fear in the streets, their collars removed. Meanwhile, former masters are now required to treat them as equals. On the ground, sellswords and Unsullied patrol the streets while the new city watch is being trained. And in the sky, they see a dragon flies overhead, leaving them all gasping and looking back in surprise. Oberyn and Sansa stare at the beast, but Renly keeps his eye on the alley. Although everything seems perfect, he notices the people hiding in the shadows. When they enter the pyramid, they find Daenerys Targaryen atop her throne, looking as much like a queen as Jon is in the Red Keep. Flanking her are Missandei and Barristan Selmy. She regards this delegation warily, especially as she sees the banners of the Baratheons and Starks, two houses that had stood against her family.
You are here. I hope that means you have come to bend the knee to the rightful queen.
Begging your pardon, your grace, but we've already bent the knee to a dragon in the Seven Kingdoms.
Yes, I have heard the rumors and the claims this Jon Snow has made. The lost son of Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark. It makes quite an interesting tale, but I'm not interested in stories.
No, you are interested in ruling, to see your family name righted, which it has been. A Targaryen now sits on the Iron Throne.
Do you take me for a fool, Lady Stark? A Targaryen who happens to be the same descent as the house that helped overthrow them. A rather convenient excuse.
Your Grace, Lord Stark supports this claim. Is that true?
My father has.
I know the Starks. They are not ones who are capable of falsehoods. Ned Stark will never sign off on anything if it is not true.
And Your Grace, this is also ignoring the fact that right now you seem to have your own kingdom in need of your attention. Even if we are liars, would you leave these fair cities to press your claim?
For once, there is a wrinkle of uncertainty in Daenerys' eyes. Though young, her kingdom was built using her fire and blood. It carries a part of her in it. While not a home she was born into, it was one she had made herself. She is not keen on seeing it fall to ash.
So, what do you propose?
King Jon has no wish for war or to further deplete the Targaryen line. It seems that you have your hands full with ruling this side of the world. He will recognize your rule and provide whatever support he can. An alliance, soldiers, supplies. In exchange, he expects equal support for his rule. A gesture of goodwill. He will even offer to return Dragonstone to you and invite you to his wedding with Marjorie Tyrell.
A bold claim. But I suppose those terms are acceptable. Very well.
Word spreads across both continents faster than ravens can fly. The dragon and the wolf are united, and now a Targaryen rules both sides of the continent. In Westeros, bells ring in celebration of the royal wedding to come. Jon Targaryen and Marjorie Tyrell, the union of North and South. Daenerys herself appears, landing in the middle of the Red Keep atop Drogon, marking the first time in more than 150 years that a dragon sets foot on the Seven Kingdoms. But across the Narrow Sea, the reaction is far from joyful. In Karth, Yunkai, Volantis, and other great slaver cities, the merchant princes gather in secret councils, their silks rustling like the hiss of serpents. They speak of slavery, of power, and of a silver-haired queen who once burned their fleets. They had hoped Jon's rise would turn her attention west and give them a chance to strengthen their hold, yet this alliance jeopardizes everything. Amidst the chaos, Varys spins his webs and begins to reach out, promising a plan that will get rid of them. So they begin to prepare. Gold flows to sellswords, mercenary captains, and spies, and from the shadows, a new name begins to circulate. Aegon Targaryen, a supposed son of Rhaegar, returned to claim his birthright. Being the son of his first wife, this makes his claim even stronger than Jon's or Daenerys's, and he is malleable, someone who may support the return of the status quo. The Red Keep is alive, with music and light. Banners of red and gold, white and green, flutter together above the courtyards. Jon stands with Marjorie before the sept doors, the air thick with perfume and anticipation. Olenna Tyrell oversees the arrangements personally, her sharp eyes missing nothing. She welcomes Daenerys and her handful of envoys, while Stannis the Hand commands the royal fleet in the bay. All seems at peace, but peace in Westeros never lasts. The first Volantine sails are sighted at dawn. Black hulls, crimson sails, a fleet vast enough to blot out the horizon. They carry the banners of Volantis, Karth, Tyrosh, and Lys, united under one cause, the restoration of Aegon VI. The invasion falls upon the Stormlands. Storm's End is besieged, its defenders forced to retreat behind high walls as the invaders swarm ashore. But then, the gates are opened, and the garrison is told to surrender. Renly Baratheon stands on the battlements, watching everything. He has long warned that Daenerys' rule in Slaver's Bay was fragile. She is still new in Slaver's Bay, and forces there are unlikely to simply accept her rule. So as he opens the gate, he offers to parley, promising to support their rise if they ensure that he is made Hand of the King. Already he is planning how he might mold the new king, or, barring that, to claim power for himself. The wedding bells barely cease tolling, and the couple has just finished the ceremony when they hear of the attack. Troops are immediately called to the capital in preparation to defend it. While many lords are there now, allowing for easier coordination, it also means they are not there to defend their lands. The invasion is swift and brutal. The combined fleets of the free cities choke the coasts, their armies pushing inland under Aegon's golden banners. Large swaths of the Stormlands fall, allowing them to spread east and southward to Dorne and to the Reach, but they have not reckoned with dragons. At sunset, the sky ignites. Drogon dives fast, his roar shaking the cliffs. Rhaegal and Viserion follow, their fire turning the invaders' siege towers to molten ash. The Volantine fleet burns in the bay, ships splitting apart in fountains of smoke and flame. On the ground, Jon rides with the Northmen and the River Lords, while Sansa meets with the various lords whose loyalties are wavering. She reassures them of their power and assures them that they will not fall. Stannis is the first to prove this when he chooses to remain loyal despite promises to be granted gold and titles across the Free Cities. Instead, he answers by sending his fleet out to attack the Free Cities while ferrying additional troops and supplies. Soon, Shipbreaker Bay is choked with corpses and the husks of broken ships that give the place its name. Meanwhile, Daenerys and Jon coordinate attacks in the Reach, using Drogon and the other dragons to strike at the south in the plains and open lands of the Reach to prevent them from spreading out any further. And from those blackened plains, the Northmen gallop forward and strike at the sellswords. The Golden Company forms a shield wall for soldiers to rally around. This allows them to hold back the cavalry charge by Randyll Tarly as they slowly slip back into the Stormlands. Here, the Rainwood and Kingswood allow the men to take shelter from the trees. This prevents them from simply raining fire down on them. Instead, Jon takes this to force them out the hard way. Lighter cavalry and infantry advances into the forests, aiming to flush out the sellswords. But here, Renly's support proves invaluable, as his guides allow them to stay one step ahead. The battle rages for 3 days, but the Golden Company remains unmoved. As the smoke of war drifts over Westeros, word reaches Daenerys that Yunkai has risen in revolt. Freedmen are slaughtered, Unsullied ambushed, and the old masters restored to power. Her eyes flash with fury, but her heart twists with dread. She wants to fly back, but that will take weeks, assuming she isn't hunted down across the continent. The message comes from across the sea. Her rule in Meereen teeters on the edge of collapse. Jon already has his hands full with the raiders from the Free Cities, and yet their alliance was built on this very principle. Daenerys had offered her aid to help with her dragons, but now, how can he do anything less? A fleet is organized by Stannis, and men are recruited. Weeks later, Stannis' command arrives in Slaver's Bay. Westerosi soldiers and Unsullied fight side by side, striking at Yunkai, where this rebellion begins. Their slave soldiers prove no match for the trained army of Stannis. They must cut support for the Sons of Harpy and the rebels in Meereen, forcing them to surrender. The slaver armies break, their masters dragged in chains before the pyramids. With that, the Unsullied are now freed to begin sailing west to the Seven Kingdoms. Hearing this, the sellswords realize that the war is turned against them. While they hold on to the Stormlands, more troops means they will eventually be dislodged, and they make their difficult decision of retreating. Only the Golden Company remains, fighting hard. However, without their allies, they are soon forced to retreat further, where Jon can fight them properly, and outside Storm's End, he smashes their army. Aegon dies under his trampled banners, while Renly is captured and executed. Braavos provides support for Daenerys, and orders the end of all slave trades in these cities as punishment, while the Targaryen rule in both kingdoms is solidified. That's our theory. Westeros is a land filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.